Yeah, good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining the IIBU presentation. Next slide, please. I'll begin by covering the financials from 2019 to 2021. I had covered based on estimates when I spoke to you last in December, and I'll provide the actual outlook for the current quarter. Provide some color on what we're seeing by segment for calendar year 22. After that, I'll discuss trends driving the growth. At previous analyst days, we had provided deep dives in the industrial segment in December and the IoT segment in September of 21. I'll briefly touch on those areas, but I'm going to focus this time largely on the power domain for data center and overall for computing. I'll also address a couple of new growth vectors. A, the metaverse, because there was some interest on this topic last time around, and B, talk a little bit about our new Forge FPGA family before summarizing. Next slide, please. Let me begin with our financial trajectory between 2019 and 2021. The results here that I'm sharing are based on actual revenue growth. IIBU revenue growth had a 25% CAGR between 2019 and 2021, and EBITDA grew by 42%, gross profit by 33%, and operating income by 68%. The top line was achieved due to strong growth in each of our three segments: industrial, IoT, and infrastructure. The increased leverage that you see in the bottom lines is a result of better utilization of our factories, price increases, as well as a focused effort on cost improvement and targeted R&D investments. At the bottom right-hand side, by segment, for the IoT, infrastructure, and industrial businesses, revenue grew by 74% on the IoT side due to inclusion of Dialog in fourth quarter 21. For the infrastructure, it grew by 19%, and for the industrial by 20%. Okay, next slide, please. Let me now share our growth on a quarterly basis. Based on our guidance actuals, we expect between the first quarter of 2020 and first quarter of 2022 to see a revenue growth of nearly 46%. And we expect to see EBITDA improvement of 59%, gross profit improvement of 51%, and an operating income improvement of 84% when looked at it quarterly. Once again, moving into 2022, we see growth across each of our three segments. By segment for IoT, infrastructure, and industrial, for the IoT segment, we expect to see growth of 70%. And remember, this is our full quarter of Dialog included for that segment, 29% for the infrastructure side, and 32% respectively for the industrial portion of our business. 2022 promises to offer sustained growth opportunities for our business. Turning to the outlook on the next slide, by segment for 2022, for industrial automation area, we see sustained growth because of increased push to efficient factories and sustainability, which is driven by our customers. On the home appliance part of the industrial segment, we see moderating growth after a significant spurt that we saw during the COVID pandemic. In the broader industrial market, which is typically power tools, motor control, etc., we see a drive towards much more improved performance, which is driving growth. In the IoT mobile segment, we see normalized growth after the share shifts from Huawei, which occurred in 2021. In the laptops, notebook segment, enterprise and gaming growth offset some decrease in the consumer segment. In IoT for other broad-based applications, we continue to see strength across the broader market. The infrastructure data center segment promises to be one of our strongest growth segments in 2022, with growth in both hyperscalers as well as in cloud computing. In the 5G area, deployment is largely today in the sub-6 gigahertz segment. While we see slower growth in the millimeter wave domain, we expect that this trend will continue for the next few years. I'll also mention that our inventory levels continue to be low across each of our product segment and well below normalized run rates. Next slide. IIBU's mission is moving intelligence from the core to the endpoint sustainably, which is aligned very well with the Renaissance mission that Shibata-san outlined before to make people's lives easier. The big opportunity that we see from a trend perspective is that the endpoint data creation growth has a CAGR of about 85% from 2019 to 2025. We expect this trend of driving intelligence from the cloud to the sensor edge is going to continue to offer us significant opportunities for growth. You might have seen this chart that I'm showing before in the form of a bullseye chart that I represented before. But here I'm kind of trying to highlight a slightly different point. So this, I'm highlighting it by the way of a pyramid. So the base of our pyramid is embedded processing, whether it's MCUs or MPUs. Above it, it's all about what Shibata-san mentioned, the software, the user experience, security, and embedded AI to build capabilities for ease of customer use. Above it are the four major elements that we've added to enhance our capabilities around embedded computing, and these are basically powers, sensors, connectivity, and actuation. If you recall before, these were the four quadrants of the circle. From a connectivity perspective, we've fully integrated our Celeno and the Dialog teams within our existing organizations. Okay, so the next step of this is we are working towards developing a common graphical user interface, or a GUI, so that the look and the feel of Renaissance products is the same for all its customers, regardless of the acquisitions that we've done. So the customers, when they see us, see one Renaissance and not an X Dialog, not an XIDT, and not an X Intersil, but rather one user interface. By focusing on superior application support and outstanding customer reach, we expect to sustain a path to grow faster than market with exciting new products. Next slide, please. Touching briefly on the industrial market, next slide, please. I'd like to focus on the number of new products that we're introducing. It's pretty obvious that there's significant growth between 2019 and 2023. To remind you, RZ family as a whole on the MPU side has four major product groupings. Number one, RZV for vision-based AI, RZG for general purpose microprocessors, and RZT and RZN for industrial automation and networking. Our industrial ASSPs are primarily focused on sensor signal conditioning, and if you recall, the access layer in the industrial automation arena, right? That's kind of what we're focused on. How do we scale it? Shibata-san had mentioned scaling. So we scale our RZ devices on the basis of higher performance at lower power and cost. We scale our general purpose products by way of platform software and expanded application support. And we expand our access layer portfolio on the industrial ASSP side by combining Dialog solutions together with Renaissance, right? And the interesting thing that I'd like to announce today is we are launching our RZ5, which is a RISC-V based MPU to address the gateway, IoT gateway market. So this is a major expansion in our application space that we're going after. If you look at the right-hand side, between 2021 and 2022, we expect to drive design and growth of over 180% in those 2 years. This, together with a significant increase in new products, is a leading indicator of our growth for the industrial segment. Moving next to the IoT and the connectivity business. Next slide, please. I'd like to capture the progress in the IoT 32-bit core, or the advanced IoT cores. To begin with, we have our proprietary products with the RX family. We have shipped over 1 billion units, making it one of the most widely deployed 32-bit proprietary cores in the market. Moving then to the ARM-based ecosystem, what you'll see is The design-in growth for the RA has surpassed the record of RX in less than 2 years since the launch. On the far left, right, you look at the RA8 family, which is the most advanced ARM Olympus core. With the RA8 device, we're going to establish industry-leading performance in the ARM ecosystem. This reflects a major transformation in our MCU journey, which began 3 years ago, and Shibata-san mentioned was a change in strategy. We have also launched 2 RISC-V based products, one for motor control in record time, and I'm incredibly pleased with the team for doing this. And the second one is voice-based application. With a portfolio of products consisting of proprietary cores, ARM-based cores, and RISC-V cores, we're well positioned to take advantage of the evolving landscape in the microcontroller area. Looking at the bottom and talking about user experience and ease of use of customers, we solicit active feedback from both internal users as well as external users on their software and tools experience to make users' life easier, right? In the world of AI and tiny machine learning, we're expanding our ecosystem partnership. Today, I'd like to announce a strategic partnership with Arduino for expanding our microcontroller ecosystem. Arduino, based in Italy with over 30 million users, is one of the largest hardware and software platforms available to microcontroller users in the marketplace. We're also partnering with Sentient for voice-based AI technology. Next slide, please. Microcontrollers need to connect seamlessly, right, with the cloud and the external world. With the recent acquisitions, whether it's Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, or partnerships for NFC and UWB, we now offer easy access to the cloud with our MCU-based solutions. Further, if you move to the right of the chart, with Sequans, we're now covering NB-IoT and LTE Cat-M as well as Cat1 solutions, and are now able to offer a comprehensive cellular portfolio to complement our MCUs. We have launched over 30 new winning combinations with our connected portfolio since the acquisition of Dialog and Celeno, and will launch another 15 before the year's out. Much as power has complemented our portfolio in the past, connectivity is going to be a major emphasis for us in 2022. Our software and user experience focus should allow customers to access the cloud with the fewest clicks and make their lives easier. Next slide, please. Now, changing the focus to the infrastructure area, we see strong growth in the power domain for data center, as well as client and mobile computing. There are 2 major categories of products driving growth in data center and client computing markets. First is our digital multi-phase controllers, and the second is the smart power stage. Our controllers are extremely well suited for the needs of the advanced CPU cores, which have very stringent power requirements. With the controllers, we offer the smart power stages that complement these products. To give you an idea why this is important, with each CPU controller, you will have for each CPU controller, you'll have between 8 and 15 smart power stages. So you can easily see why you're seeing the kind of cascading growth that I'm showing in these charts. On the mobile computing side, on the other hand, the products that are driving the growth are industry-leading battery chargers that came from Dialog, fuel gauge ICs that are Renesas, and USB PD solutions that also came from Renesas. So those are the 3 major drivers on the mobile computing side. Next slide, please. The previous slide covered power from a CPU perspective, right? So you have the processor on one side of the compute. On the other side of the compute, you have the memory stuff. So the other side is the dual interface memory module side. What has changed from DDR4 to DDR5 is, unlike the prior generation, the power management IC resides on the DIMM module, highlighting the revenue scaling opportunity. So before, you'd have one for a system. Now you have one per every DIMM board. So that's a huge scaling opportunity. Renesas is the market share leader and the only PMIC supplier currently approved for Intel's Alder Lake. Our market traction is clear by looking at the level of engagement with our customers. We're increasing our DDR5 PMIC design in, as you can tell, between 2020 and 2022 by a factor of 4. And we expect that with each improving generation of DDR5, this attach rate will be a benefit to Renesas, assuming we continue to execute. Next slide, please. At each of these sessions, I've highlighted an important facet of what Shibata-san calls the sprouts for growth, one of which is the metaverse. Again, on the metaverse, there's the cloud side, which is compute intensive, and the other side, which is the AR, VR glass side. Renesas has products that support both the compute side with PMICs, as well as on the memory side with PMICs, memory interface products, SPD hubs, and temp sensors. On the compute side, there's an opportunity to have multiple digital controllers and power station aboard with a BOM of up to $72. On the client side, which is the VR AR glass side, with the host apps PMIC, we have a bill of materials of $3. And then on the total wireless stereo side, which is the TWS side illustrated there, the charger PMIC offers a system BOM opportunity of about $3.50. Okay. Next, I'm going to cover the GreenPAK family, which to Forge FPGA. Most of you are familiar with the GreenPAK family, which is mixed signal technologies put together with a state machine for a controller. We've spoken about that extensively at the previous session. So this time I'd like to focus on the right, which is really the Forge FPGA family. The Forge FPGA essentially offers very easy to use software capabilities for the industrial IoT market. To be very clear, we do not intend to compete with Altera, Xilinx, Lattice, or Microchip in the PLD or FPGA space. Forge FPGA is very unique. It is low gate count, low power, and low cost solution optimized for IoT applications. The biggest problem with an MCU, typically single core MCUs, is that they're single threaded, meaning that they can handle only one function at a time. FPGAs, on the other hand, can handle multiple functions at a given time. But the problem with FPGA is cost. The Forge FPGA actually handles that. It avoids the high cost and software complexity of a typical FPGA. The product supports around 5,000 gates, offers half the power consumption of competing FPGAs in the market, and at volume, the price will be at or around 50 cents. We also avoid the traditional FPGA development struggles on software by offering free development software to accommodate both new and experienced FPGA users with what we call the macro cell mode and an HDL mode. Next slide, please. To summarize, we see solid opportunities for growth, both and on the top and the bottom lines as into 2022. Inventory levels continue to be good. We've integrated both Celeno and Dialog. And as Shinkai-san mentioned, we expect to achieve or exceed our synergy plans for those businesses. We've expanded our ecosystem of partners with strategic partnership with Arduino and Sentient. Our roadmap and design and traction offer continued prospects for sustained growth. To reiterate, our financial model of far greater than SAM, a gross margin of at or greater than 60%, and operating income of between 30 and 35%. What I will tell you is we have significant leverage to improve the bottom line performance as we grow the top line. Thank you for your attention.
ありがとうございました。
Thank you.
それでは質疑応答に
Now we would like to move on to the Q&A session. If you have any questions, please press the raise hand button.
はい、それでは
Okay.
BOA 証券の平川さん
BOA Securities Hirakawa-san,
会場の上ご質問をお願い
please
します
begin your question after unmuting your microphone. Thank you very much. BFA, my name is Hirakawa. On page 12, you explained about connectivity, that you said that connectivity is your focus area. Now, in that context, Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, you have reinforced your capability through acquisitions. But what are the plans to reinforce your cellular capabilities? Can you elaborate on that point? That's my question.
Thank you for your question. Yes, on the cellular area, today we're partnered with Sequans Communication. And we've launched actually combinations of our microcontrollers together with their CAD-M and NB-IoT combined solution in the marketplace. We are aggressively launching products, the ZY024, as well as the ZY014 to go after this particular marketplace. And my expectation is over time, we are going to be doing a product that is dedicated for both narrowband IoT, as well as products that are dedicated towards the Cat1 market as well. So it is our intent to partner very closely with them and expand the scope of what we're doing in this area. They also, longer term, they offer the possibility of working with us on a 5G solution as well that is focused on the client side, not on the infrastructure side like Renesas is focused. Hope that answers your question. Thank you.
ありがとうございました。
Thank you.
ありがとうございました。
Thank
続きま
you very much. Next, Eguchi-san from Nikkei newspaper, please unmute and please start your question. Thank you. This is Eguchi from Nikkei. Can you hear me? Yes, we can. Thank you for taking my question. RISC-V based microcontrollers. I have a question. RZ5, this time, with Taiwan's Andes technology, using their designed IT, and in this IP area, do you plan to do this on your own going forward, or will you are you planning to use IP from outside? What is the timeline for the introduction of new products? Could you discuss all of these? And in addition, RISC-V based microcontrollers ecosystem, or what is the status regarding the users using the ecosystem? If you could touch upon that as well.
Thank you for your question. So from the RZ5 perspective, yes, you're absolutely correct. Today we're using the Andes score, but we are investing in doing RISC-V development internally as well. This is for us, as I think Shibata-san alluded to this earlier, we are in a hurry to launch products and to get products into the marketplace and make sure that Renesas is in a leadership position. So that's the reason why we partnered to get to market faster with the RISC-V solutions with Andes, both for the MCU side that I showed earlier, as well as on the MPU side. But we have a focused effort of internal development. I expect that by 2023 timeframe, that we will have products developed with our internal capabilities. From a software and a user experience perspective, the teams are working actively to develop the tools as well as the tool chains that are required to enable our customers to use this from the get-go. So it's not sequential. It is actually in parallel that when the product is launched, the software is going to be available at the same point in time. We have a concerted effort on software development, and this is one of the things that we are doing better than we've historically done in the past. So the idea is, yes, get to market faster with partners, and then bring along your own technology in-house to develop that capability. Hope that answers your question. Thank you.
はい、ありがとうございます。あとリスク
Thank you very much. A follow-up question. Using RISC-V, the resulting microcontrollers, it seems that is there any application or manufacturers who are very active in introducing these products? Do you already see signs of active manufacturers, product application areas?
Right. Yeah, thanks. The RISC-V products initially we expect to, I'm not going to talk about specific customers, obviously I cannot, but what I will tell you is that the focus for the initial launch of the RISC-V products is for the China market. And RISC-V is sort of application targeted, as you can imagine, right? Where you optimize the hardware and the software for the application space that you're after. So I will address the question broadly, that it's dedicated to the markets where we see the biggest opportunities for traction, which is the China market today. Hopefully that answers your question.
はい、ありがとうございます。
Thank you very much.
ありがとうございました。
Thank you.
まだご質問をいただい
I'm
て
sure we have many questions in the queue, but we have to move on to the next session. Thank you.
続きまして
Thank you.